And then you left, you went from high school. You didn't leave high school. You graduated from high school. You went directly to the NBA. You were so young, you were 17, that your parents had to sign your first NBA contract.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You're the youngest person not only on the team but in the league. We've got a bunch of graduating students who are probably going to their first full-time job. Do you have any advice for students entering an organization and being the youngest person, not in the room but in the whole company?
Well, I mean, in business, it's a little different. You know, I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. Right? But you always want to outwork your potential. You know, as hard as you believe you can work harder than that. And that's what I tried to do when I first came in the league. But, you know, basketball is such a direct competition sport that me coming in at 17, I hated when, like, my teammates would say, you know, I get hit with an elbow, right? Shaq would hit me with an elbow in practice. And, like, you know, Nick Van Exel would come up and say, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, what? Are you okay? What the hell's wrong with you?" You know, so, like, I always had that extra chip on my shoulder. So, like, every day in practice for me was really trying to annihilate everybody that I was playing against. Because I wanted to prove you don't need to babysit me. Like, I'm fine, you know? And so it's always that competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. You know, playing with Bryant Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? You know, Bird tough to defend. Why? Because you look slow as shit to me. So, like, I'm missing something. So, like, tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean? And so I would always ask questions and try to learn as much as I could. Right? No? Oh, it's a different generation. You guys probably never even seen Larry Bird play, which is...
Just
how many have seen Larry Bird play?
Hey, everybody's seen Larry Bird play.
That's not a high enough percentage. We got some work to do.
They are 18 to 22, so it's
yeah,
before their time. But I just thought that could be the greatest meme to send to Boston this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, my kids have never seen Jordan play, so
yeah, that's crazy.
They don't know.
That's crazy.
They don't know. It's weird.
Let's dive into your mindset, because I really think that you have so many things that translate beyond sports. When we talk about mindset and beliefs, we talk about limiting beliefs as sort of being the ceiling of your potential. You know, how you think about yourself, whether positively or negatively, that's probably what your potential is. How do you stretch your beliefs and make sure you are continually pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone and your capabilities?
I just dream. I dream. I have dreams, and dreams is they should be pure. And I think a lot of times, when we're born into this world, we actually wind up going backwards. And it seems like the more we mature, the more responsible our dreams become, and the more governors we put on ourselves and our ability to dream and to reimagine. And it's always a fight for us parents and for you guys to make sure that your dreams always stay pure. And so it's not a matter of pushing beyond your limitations or expectations. It's really a matter of protecting your dreams, protecting your imagination. That's really the key. And when you do that, then the world just seems limitless.
At the time, the owner of the Lakers, Jerry Buss, said it was like watching a miracle happen. And for those of us who watched it on TV or were there, it really was one of those things you just couldn't believe was possible. Did you, during the game, did you have to sort of like reset your beliefs? I know Lamar Odom was saying you can't get 60, right. You can't get 70. Or did you just let it flow and whatever happened, happened? Or were you really like gunning for numbers?
No, I always dreamed as a kid that, it was possible to score 80 or 90 or 100. I always just had a dream. Like sometimes you lay down in bed and you visualize things. And you just kind of, that's at least how I would go to sleep. I'd lay down, I'd imagine playing for the Lakers, and I'd imagine what the uniforms look like. I'd imagine where we'd be playing, and the smell of the arena and all sort of stuff. and I would see myself, getting hot, and score 10 straight points. But in a dream, like, why would you ever interrupt that? Like, you're not going to have a dream and be like, okay, and then he misses his next 6. Like, it's not going to happen. So you just keep dreaming and dreaming and dreaming, and before I go to sleep, I'm like at 120 points, And so when you grow up, downloading that into your brain over and over and over, and then, that summer, I made 1,000 shots a day. 1,000, right? That's on top of weight training and my conditioning. I made 1,000 shots, and they weren't just shots. It were shots that you saw in that game. They were specific shots. I mean, it was coming out of the corner, going to the pinch post, footwork in the post, coming off the screen. It was very specific. So when you download that into your system and you go out in the court and you're just executing things that you've done thousands of times before, and you have that dream, then that becomes possible.
Let's talk about mindset and philosophy, because we tell students that it's very important that you have a personal philosophy. In your basketball career, did you have an articulated competitive philosophy, something short that meant something to you, that really stood for what you played?
My philosophy was a very simple one. And this is where I think film plays a big part of my life. Rudy was one of my favorite films growing up, right? And if you guys haven't seen Rudy, I suggest you watch Rudy.
The reason why it's it's Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame, so we don't get crazy about that.
I think the USC football program has done okay over the years. So it's. But after watching that film, I come to understand if I could work that hard every day, with being blessed with the physical tools that I have. What would my career be? And I made a promise to myself from that day that I was going to work that hard every single day, so that when I do retire, I have no regrets. And that was the most important thing for me, is to leave no stone unturned, get better every single day. And if I lived that way, then over time, I'd have something that was beautiful. But that was my philosophy. It seems like a pretty simple one, but if you live your life to just get better every single day, and do that for 20 years, I mean, what do you have?
So you talk about practice, and I want to underscore that. Allen Iverson, who was a phenomenal player with the 76ers, famously ranted about, when asked by a reporter about missing practice, and he just went, practice, we're talking about practice. I mean, it's practice, not a game. I mean, it was classic. He went on for minutes. Yeah. The Iverson approach is not the Kobe Bryant approach. You really focused on practice. Tell us what you brought to practice and how you sort of made that standard for the rest of your team.
Well, I mean, here's why practice was important to me. Not from just the standpoint that I enjoyed playing. Like, I enjoyed being there. I enjoyed getting better. But as a leader of a team, it's also your responsibility to elevate the rest of the guys. And what people tend to get stuck on a lot is saying, okay, the way to make players better is to pass them the ball when they're open. That's a very trivial way to look at things. What you have to do is you have to get them emotionally to want to be better. You have to get them to an emotional space where they wake up every morning driven to be the best version of themselves, right? And how do you do that? And in practice, for me, it was a chance to drive them, to challenge them, right? And this is where you have to know your teammates, because if it's late, we just had a back-to-back, and we had practice the next day, and you show up, and guys don't feel like going through the motions, don't feel like practicing. It's important to know each and every one of them individually, personally, because then you know what nerve to touch. Some guys, it's like, okay, come on, we can do this. That'll get them going. Other guys, no. You got to figure out what button to push. Powell was always Spain. If I tell them how they lost in a gold medal to us and how they're going to lose again, how I'm going to beat your ass in practice, just like I beat you in a gold medal game, he'd hate that. He'd hate that. But that's what practice was. You have to drive them. You absolutely have to. And if practice is more intense and harder than a Game 7 will be, then a Game 7 will be easy. But if it's not, then that's when teams start folding and capitulating.
It's interesting because most athletes and retired athletes focus their business efforts around building their own brand, their personal brand. And certainly, you have a brand, you have a shoe, but you've chosen to do something else, something that's more bold, something that you really haven't done before. Can you tell us why you're doing this, why you're going into a creative endeavor like Granity Studios?
Because I love doing it. I mean, it's that simple. You know, you have to sit and ask yourself what is truly going to get you up in the morning, what's going to keep you up at night. And, you know, when you find what that answer is, you stay true to that. You know, I've built a brand for the last 20-some years, personal brand, which is great. But that is not where our focus is going to be for the next 50 years. Right? It's what we are doing now. Are we taking a big risk? Yeah. But I think that if we focus on one thing and do that one thing exceptionally well, we won't fail at that one thing. So sometimes you got to put the other stuff to bed and focus on what you believe is the core of the company, and that always starts from what you love to do the most.